May is bringing PvP arenas and a new mutated dungeon, the Depths, but one of the biggest things it's bringing is actually some combat changes, so let's have a closer look at them right now. So there's quite a lot of changes, but we're just going to go through some of the key ones and we'll see how they affect the game. Now, one of the big ones that a lot of people are complaining about, personally I actually like this change, is that there is a delay when you dodge. So let me show you. Normally if I dodge, and you see how long it takes before my stamina comes back up. Just watch the stamina bar again. I dodge and it takes about 1 second before the stamina starts regenerating. Now if we compare that to live, let's see what happens. I'm going to dodge and you see how much more quickly the stamina starts regenerating. I dodge, stamina starts regenerating. See how much quicker that is. The idea here is obviously to slow down people dodging, and that applies to light, medium and heavy, so that's just a nerf overall to dodging. Because I'm sure you've been in an outpost rush and there's like one light guy trying to take on 5 of you and he's literally just dodging around and you literally can't catch them unless you catch them in a route. But routes have also been changed. So I'm going to try and show you what happens in a route. Hopefully this guy is going to duel me and we're going to just do it. Just grab well me. I basically just want them to grab well me, and then I'm going to dodge basically, and then dodge, and that's it. That's it. Thanks. And the key thing there is that whilst I was rooted, I could still dodge, which also meant that I got my iframes, which means you wouldn't be able to actually hurt me whilst I was doing that dodge. And that's a massive change for combat. So you can be rooted, you dodge, but you still you just dodge in place, you know what I mean? You don't actually move. At the minute, you can't dodge at all whilst rooted. So what the game's trying to do overall there is that, yes, we're going to make it when you dodge, you have less stamina, which basically means you're going to dodge less. Some people are calling that clunky. I don't think that that's a clunky change. I think it's just one way of many that they could have done to slow down the amount of dodging. I thought just slowing down the rate might have been fine. What they have done is put a cooldown. Now that, you might think, is actually quite similar to like when you block. Let's just see if I block. There's also a similar cooldown on the stamina like that. So it's basically putting it in line with the block, I guess, is one way to look at it. But yeah, being able to dodge in routes is pretty important, and it sort of counters not being able to dodge as much. Now your dodge is becoming more like important of when you time it. Now, another thing that I couldn't really demonstrate then, because it's hard for me to like sort this out, is that if you get slowed, your dodge will be affected by the slow. So you won't be dodging your full distance. You'll actually, well, you'll be slowed down, so you won't quite go as far, as in, or you'll go as far, but it'll be slower. I'm not 100% sure. I can't quite remember how that works. I've played it in the arenas, but it's really hard to say. It also sort of feels like that your dodge is not quite as far. Now that might be a bug, we're not 100% sure. I have seen that it was reported as a bug, but some people were saying that your dodge is not quite as far. Now another one that I can't really demonstrate very easily is that there's going to be stronger diminishing returns on CCs. So if you do get stunned or slowed, well, the first one's fine because that's the original CC. But what happens is each application is going to diminish. So the first one, it will diminish by 50%, and then the second one will be another 50%. Whereas it used to be 20% per instance, and it was capped out at 80%. So you would always get some sort of stun and slow. So in those big wars, you're less likely now to actually be getting like perma CC'd. That's probably helpful for tanks really, because your light armor users, well, you know, if you manage to get out of them, maybe timing your dodges, maybe you can survive. Now, I'm not 100% sure that this one will be easy to demonstrate. Keep in mind I'm on the US server here, but there has been an improvement to melee attack homing, which again is sort of like this combination of how melee and dodging is supposed to work. Now, if I dodge maybe from like this distance, it's very hard to tell if I'm getting any kind of improvement as comparing it to live. Some people are saying it's much better, but I think partly because I've been playing it on the PTR, and the PTR obviously is, as I said, NA, and I'm in EU. It's hard for me to say if that's really a big thing or not. A lot of anecdotal feedback is that this homing is quite strong, and some people are saying, well, the homing is too strong and the nerf to dodging is too strong and it's making melee much better. But I have to say, in my arena experience so far, I'm seeing a lot of range users. I would say the meta at the minute, just on the PTR, and we've no idea how this will translate into the full game, obviously, is that it's looking like mages. Well, number one, it's looking like bow users, but I think bow users are probably mainly being used because people are testing the changes to bow. Use like light armor bow users, and then light armor mages, and then everybody else. Even healers don't seem that big of a thing, and let's show you why. So when it comes to healing, if we have a look at what it says for light armor, you can see now it says that you deal 20% bonus damage. That hasn't changed, but you have 30% bonus healing. Now there's actually quite a few changes to the way healing works that I personally don't know enough about because I don't play that. Like, I saw one ability has got a bit of a casting time where it never used to, but this is an important change for pretty much everybody else here, that light is now going to be probably the most effective way of healing. Obviously most risky in a PvP situation because you're going to get targeted down. Then if I go to medium, you'll see it doesn't really say anything about healing, because healing at medium is flat. You know, this is sort of like the no bonus, no negative, it's just pure flat, nothing good or bad basically. Then if I put that all the way up to heavy and we mouse over it, you can see you have a minus 30% reduced healing. That's massive. This is basically to stop heavy healers being unkillable. That's what they're trying to achieve. They made some changes in the past and now they've taken it even further. Some of the big changes they've made is to the bow. Now apparently this is all to do with like speeding up the attack and making it feel better, and I have to say, just like anecdotally, if I just show you here, I'm just going to fire and then fire and then fire, and we can see how sort of quick it is. Get the hang of that. It's sort of quickish. And then let's compare that with live. Let's see how this feels. Yeah, it feels a little bit slower. And that makes sense because apparently they've reduced the recovery time on the basic attacks. They've also apparently increased the radius of your actual attack. So when you hit, apparently it's actually a bit bigger. And they say players can now sprint when lowering your weapon. So I think when you do that, I think it's going to sprint. So let's jump onto the PTR and test that. So let's try that. I'm going to raise the weapon and then we're going to put it down. And yeah, you can see it's much quicker to move. Like, you see there's no delay. I didn't like walk. It's just like completely maneuverable. Now, I'm not really a bow player, so I can't really speak for how important these changes are. It feels like bow users were complaining, and it doesn't feel like they're complaining as much anymore. And as I said, in the arenas themselves, the bow was used quite a bit, possibly because of these changes and people just wanted to try them. There's obviously more in the PTR. Feel free to go check it, or just read the notes. It's up to you to decide what you want to do there. There are way more changes than that. If you look in the PTR, there's changes to like pretty much every weapon and every like whatever, but I'm not going to talk about them here. This video will be massively long. The important thing is that combat as a whole is changing in principle. Instead of it being heavy armors never being able to catch light armors, that balance is changing somewhat. But it's actually, I think, possibly making the game more skillful even for the light users, because now, as a light user, if you do get rooted, well, if you time your dodges properly, you might be able to survive and then get in there and do more damage. So it's like a buff and a nerf to pretty much everything. But it's sort of changing the way the game is played intentionally. Because quite frankly, I was playing as a medium heavy, like bruiser kind of guy, and the game, for me, Great Axe Warhammer, it just wasn't really very fun. There was too much light armor going around, and I was like, man, can't beat them, why don't I join them? I started playing light armor in Outpost Rush, and oh my god, I actually started enjoying the game, because it was way better to just not be catchable, and the feeling of like dodging around and being like an assassin was pretty cool, even though I was like Great Axe Warhammer. And I understand part of the problem here is that what they've done is they've taken a bit of the fun away from the light users, but really I think it's probably for the health of the game, because everybody wanted to play light because everything else was not as fun or as good as it. Ideally what they could have done is kept it being like fun but maybe not as good, but unfortunately that's not the way people are going to perceive it. I think the concept of these changes are very healthy. People are complaining about them in different ways. I want to see it in live personally before I make a full comment. People are saying if you put these changes in live they'll quit, and it's like, well, you know, maybe you were just dodging around in light armor and you were unkillable and you don't realize how unhealthy that is for the game. Now they might say, but I'm so skilled, I want to do that. I actually read somebody's comment today which was like, I'm so skilled, I can like 1v5 kill 2 or 3 of them, and I should be able to do that. Yes, but how do you know it was because of your skill and not because light armor was just OP? Well, we'll never know the answer to that, but let's make it so light armor requires skill and it's still fun. And I think these changes are at least somewhat there. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Have a most beautiful day.